Hello, everyone. So you want to have a tantric experience? So I want to. Well, first off, is it's interesting that I've never actually, I think, answered this question before, but I've had somebody recently ask what was necessary in order to have a tantric experience. And the first question you have to answer is: are we talking about solo, meaning a solo experience, and two, are we talking about a partnered situation? So and the other thing is, are we talking about sex, right? So sex actually is only a technique within Tantra. In other words, you can utilize sexual energy without doing anything sexually, right? So that's something you need to keep in the back of your mind, is it's not necessary to have sex or to do anything even remotely sexual to have a tantric experience. What it requires, though, is a couple things, one of which are the sort of foundational tenets that I would say. One, foundationally, you need to understand, particularly if you're a man, you need to understand orgasm. You need to understand ejaculation. You need to understand that pre-cum, post-cum, you're a different person. Okay, that's essential for you to understand. Meaning choice. We're not operating on autopilot anymore. From a tantric perspective, you're making a choice whether to release or not, and to know that energy is released when you release or ejaculate. It's a thing. Okay, so that's the first thing. And so, generally speaking, a tantric experience, it's not even focused or even remotely on orgasm. That's not the point, right? So pleasure. You almost have to reevaluate your relationship with desire and pleasure and orgasm and ejaculation. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is there's no goal. There's no destination. Pleasure is a side effect, right? Desire is what drives you into the experience. And ejaculation and orgasm are, once again, side effects, not goals or focus. So in other words, you can remove a lot of tension a lot of people have psychologically around ejaculation or orgasm just by going into something with a tantric approach. Now, the other thing is necessary for a tantric approach is sensitivity, right? So where's your attention and your awareness? In a lot of ways, Tantra is described as, at least, again, I'm talking about this from the sexual realm, again, this applies to the individual as well, but in the sexual realm of things, there's a way to approach Tantra or a sexual experience that will absolutely enhance the experience. I already talked about letting go of expectations and goals. So the second part of this is, what are you doing before the actual sex comes about? Like, there is a progression, and I would consider it a pretty classical progression that involves connection and breathing and doing different sort of internal contractions, and perhaps the two individuals are doing yoga separately, and then they come together and do breath work and connection, and then they have other sorts of practices, and then during the actual coitus or the sex itself, there's techniques and practices that can be utilized during that as well. So the whole thing is to think about Tantra as a cool sexual experience. It's a cool approach. Now, you can utilize heat, meaning kink, fantasy, things of that nature, in order to escalate the energy, but then you got to be able to back off, because the point in Tantra, again, is not the orgasm or ejaculation. The point is to sort of enjoy the journey, right? And also the point is to bring about a merger. So again, if it's a coupled experience, the merger is between the couples. And then the energy that is exchanged and cycled between the two individuals creates an amplification within one another. However, what's needed is clarity. So meaning that the couple is connected. They're connected. They've talked through any issues, et cetera, et cetera. So oftentimes, like, for instance, if there is a resentment that one individual has, then even eye contact becomes difficult, right? So eye contact becomes difficult. One person wants to withdraw. And so, in other words, the tantric experience is somewhat blocked under those circumstances. So being emotionally clear, having clear communication, is a tantric practice. So that's it within a couple dynamic. Now, the individuals, I would say this is probably, and this is generalization, probably more important for men than women, is that they cultivate some pathways. And what do I mean by cultivating pathways? Doing practices which center your energy, doing practices which connect you to your body, doing practices which ultimately give your nervous system the capacity to handle the powerful energy that can be kindled through meditation, through breath work, through amplifying sexual energy, right? So sexual energy is kundalini, it is spirit, it is this powerful force that often, you know, I've heard this said many times, it will fry your nerves if you let it go. Well, the reality is that, again, I'm 46, my orgasms now, and again, I already said that orgasm wasn't the point, but my orgasms now as a 46-year-old are considerably more powerful than they were when I was 18. The reason is because I cultivated my nervous system's capacity to handle the charge. Excuse me. So I hope that makes sense. And one of the ways you can tell you know somebody does not have the capacity, let's say, is that let's say they have a ton of nervous energy and they're rather scattered. So, excuse me. Other words, that the orgasmic energy, if the person's awareness is outside of themselves, if their energy is scattered or shattered, then they cannot conduct that charge in a powerful way. So centering practices, lowering your respiration rate, incredibly important. You know, things that will essentially, how do I explain this? So let me explain something really quick. The nervous system has two branches. You have a sympathetic branch and a parasympathetic branch. The sympathetic branch is the sort of stressed out aspect of the nervous system. The parasympathetic is the cooler, right? They're called the rest and digest. So what ends up happening is when you're chronically stressed, let's say your respiration rate, your breathing rate is at 15 breaths up to 24 breaths per minute, keeping in mind that orgasm is right around 24 breaths per minute, which is a very high stress, high power energy kind of experience. So if your normal respiration rate is somewhere between 15 and 20 breaths per minute, you're functioning at high stress. So what ends up happening is that a lot of the energy is shunted away from the genitalia. So those men out there who have difficulty with anxiety, getting stuck in their head during sex, or erectile dysfunction, let's say, it's largely because, not entirely, but largely because the energy, the blood flow is being shunted away from the genitalia because you're in a chronically aroused meaning stressed, anxious state. So the underlying importance here that I'm getting at is that there are, on this channel, I put up videos all the time which are actually helpful in terms of helping people center their energy, helping them center their life force so that they can go into different sort of practices, right? So there's a lot of books available in which guide you through tantric progressions, but I also, personally, I'm available for anyone out there who needs coaching in terms of how to cultivate the sexual energy, how to cultivate these pathways, and also how to approach your partner so that you can have these kinds of dynamics, so you can have a more powerful, connected experience. And it's incredibly healing for a relationship to be able to do this. It brings two people together as a team in a much more deep, again, a much deeper way, and generates a bond in a much more deep way as well. So that being said, if you have any interest and you need some guidance, how to work through any sort of obstacles you have around your sexual energy or sexual challenges, or if you have an interest in deepening your understanding of yourself, deepening your connection to your own energy, specifically the sexual energy, as well as deepening your connection to your partners, I'm available to help you with all those things. My website is posted down below the video, and I thank you for watching.